you been arrested? Or somebody you know been arrested? Or you're just here because you want to understand the process of police bail or release an investigation? What's the difference? Well, I'm Lee. I'm a legal representative and I'm going to break it down to you today, okay? So stay tuned. What happens after the arrest? Well, suspects are taken to the police station, they're processed, they have the interview under caution, and then the police have two options if they really want to carry on the investigation, okay? So if the police want to continue the investigation after the interview under caution has taken place, then the police have two options. They can release on bail or release under investigation, okay? Now, being released on bail, you have a specific time to come back, and a date, obviously, and being released under investigation, you don't, okay? The investigation continues, but the suspect's kind of left in limbo a little bit. They don't really know or have a specific time or date to hear from the police by. Obviously, with the bail, it can be conditional or unconditional. So let's just talk about the bail for the minute, okay? Pre-charge bail. Bail allows suspects to leave custody and still allow the investigation to continue, ensuring that they are available for further questioning or hearings, you know, on that date that's set. So say, for an example, in 2 months' time, the suspect has to come back at 3 p.m, okay? The police generally then either say, look, we're going to do this, we can charge, or they may even have further questions, so they go back into an interview under caution for further questioning, okay? So it allows that as well. But if there's conditions imposed on your bail, okay, so you've got pre-charge bail with conditions, certain conditions can be like reporting, so suspects may need to report back to the police station at times to monitor their whereabouts. I've had that a few times. Passport surrendering, that's happened to me once with one of my clients, so it doesn't happen often. Again, with curfews, ensuring that the suspect isn't out at a certain time. The most common ones are no contact orders, so that prevents the suspect from contacting witnesses, victims or co-defendants. That happens majority of the time, so it'd be not to contact so-and-so directly or indirectly. But of course, with domestic issues or alleged offences, there's often children involved. So if you're a representative, you've kind of got to be on the ball and be like, look, yes, not to contact directly or indirectly. However, they have children and my client needs to see the child, basically. So often then what's negotiated is contact through a third party, which still allows my client to see the children. Yeah, I've just made a note here, residency requirements. Again, this is common in domestic cases, in a lot of cases, not just domestic, sorry, but not to go to a certain address. So it'd be not to contact them, not to go to their home address, and so that then the normal go-to bail conditions, to be honest. However, conditions must be proportionate and necessary to prevent interference with the investigation, protect victims, or ensure the suspects attend further proceedings. Yes, like I said, the bail back date, I have had it where they want to question my client further. Maybe some new evidence has came about and they want to put that to my client. So that happens often. But in practice, I've got to be honest, where I'm located, more often than not, it gets extended. Okay, that's the truth. The bail gets extended, or it gets no further action. Disproportionate conditions can be challenged. Okay, so even though they're set by the custody sergeant is heavily influenced by the OIC. Okay, so the pretty much the officer in charge. Okay. So any representative should always be liaising with the police, with the officer, and say, look, realistically, I've had previously where the officer said, look, we don't want them in the county, we don't want them in Gloucestershire, we don't want them in Worcestershire. The whole county, really? I've said in my previous video, with the process of arrest, I'll link that in. Go watch it. It's a bit before the bail, okay? But yeah, that's disproportionate. Come on, let's do, if you want, the street. The whole street, unless my client's got family down there, my client don't need to be down there. Do the whole street rather than the county. 9 times out of 10, that normally works. Okay, so you can normally liaise with the police and say, look, come on, give and take a little bit. Let's be realistic. However, if they don't and they want to go ahead and put the cautions in, then, sorry, I've got a fiddle whilst I'm talking. Then the police, not the police, sorry, the representative, us, we can apply to the magistrates' courts to have the bail conditions varied. Okay, so that there is light at the tunnel if the bail conditions are disproportionate. Now, being released under investigation, you don't have no bail conditions because you're not on bail. You don't have a specified date to come back to. Yes, it sounds great initially, okay, so let's put the pros and the cons into it. The pros is obviously there's no restrictions or imposed conditions, and it offers your client, or my client, a lot more freedom. It offers the individual a lot more freedom to go about their day-to-day life. But there's no clear timeline, okay? It often leaves my clients uncertain and they get stressed. And this can really lead to lengthy periods of investigation. But like I said, you have no conditions, so you can go about your day-to-day life normally. Okay, so this on my notes here, this is important. Even without conditions, okay, the police are required to carry out the investigation diligently and avoid unnecessary delays. So the lack of the restrictions doesn't mean that the suspects, like in the clear, the investigation, sorry, get my teeth in, is still going ahead and can still result in charges. But the police can't also sit back and just be like, look, we're not on no timescale here. We'll just take our time. They've still got to investigate it diligently. Ha, man, I've got to get my teeth in. Yes, diligently. But often, again, I feel like my clients think we're scot-free, nothing to worry about. That's not the case, okay? Being released under investigation can still lead to being charged. I've just got on my notes here, challenging bail conditions, and I have already kind of gone into that a bit, okay? So I've spoken to, you, whoever's listening, that us representatives, solicitors, should liaise with the police, and we do, or I do. I try, and I try to get obviously the best bail conditions that's suitable for my client. So I always kind of ask the police before I speak to my client, look, what's your bail condition thoughts? And they often say, look, this, and this. And when I'm taking instructions, obviously I inform my client this, and I say, look, they're wanting to do this, and this. How do you feel about that? Say, for an example, a time curfew. Do you work? If you do, what times? Is this going to affect it in any way? So I get my instructions from the client. So I already know when I'm liaising with the police at the end what I need to achieve. Okay? Yeah, so any legal representative should be doing this. And as I said, if the police are unwilling to change or adapt the conditions or vary the conditions in any way, then you can apply to the magistrates to have them varied. So I've got practical tips for my viewers, if there's any watching, okay? Track your deadlines, stick to your conditions carefully. You don't want to miss, your bail back date. You don't want to accidentally breach, I say accidentally, but you don't want to breach your police conditions, bail conditions in any way, okay? This can lead to being rearrested. It's dragging you back down to the cells. It's going through all this again, and frankly, nobody wants to be stuck in them cells. As I said in my previous video, seek legal advice. This is not legal advice, not in the slightest, okay? Seek legal advice. When you're down in the cells and they say, do you want a solicitor? say yes. Yes, you do. Just because you feel like you haven't done anything does not mean you shouldn't have representation there. In fact, that should be more of a reason. You're there, okay? You're in the cells. Nobody else is in them cells. You're in them cells. Get representation. Do not rely on the police helping you in the investigation, okay? Get representation. And this is another little tip. Engage with your representation, okay? If that's... Obviously, you don't have to give us instructions. No, I'm not here to force anybody to do anything, okay? I tell you everything I know, and I give you an opportunity then to give me instructions, and if you want my advice, it's there. However, I'm getting back into the interview and the cautions, aren't I? This is about after, okay? So once you've been released, if you're released under investigation, or you're released on bail with conditions or unconditional, okay, engage with your solicitors, engage with the firm, message them, talk to them, okay? Because it's quite frustrating when we reach out to clients and send messages and we don't get no response, okay? And then on the day before their hearing or the day before their bail back, all of a sudden their head comes out the sand and they're like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Of course, if you're returning to the police station to answer bail and you're to be interviewed again, we'll be there. But it's important that you engage with your representation. It's not one way, it's two way, okay? It's a relationship both ways. We're talking about bail, aren't we? And, you know, I said your bail back date, you go there and obviously a couple of things can happen. You could be charged. You could then be dropped to RUI, released under investigation. Or you can have your bail extended, okay? So initially when you get released, the maximum they can bail you out for is 3 months. And that's common, especially where I practice, that's common, okay, 3 months. I try to get it reduced if I can, because again, it's not great for my client to be, you know, waiting for 3 months. But again, it's on the police to do their job diligently and get the job done, or the investigation done. But if they go back and it gets extended, it's an inspector approval and they can extend it up to 6 months ongoing investigation, okay? So they can extend it again. If they go back again and it needs to be extended, then the superintendent can approve 9 months, okay? So that's a long time to be on bail, that 9 months. They can apply to the magistrates and actually get further extensions, okay? I haven't had that yet. I haven't had, oh no, that's a lie. I was actually liaising with the police officer the other day and he's just applied to the magistrates to have it extended. And I said, look, with all due respect, okay, as far as I'm aware, there's been no issues with the bail conditions. My client hasn't breached them in any way, as far as I'm aware. Can we not just put this down to release under investigation now? And the police officer wasn't really feeling that, to be honest, which it's up to them. So he's applied for it to be extended with the magistrates. So yeah, 1. Doesn't happen often, but yeah, 1. So let's just recap, okay? Been arrested, you've gone through the process, you've had your interview under caution, you're now about to be released, okay? And the police want to carry on the investigation, okay? So they're not done. They don't want to make a decision yet. They have 2 options. 1, bail. 2, release under investigation, okay? Release under investigation is exactly what it says on the tin. You release whilst they investigate. No conditions, nothing like that in the slightest. You are free to do and go about your business as you please. However, there's no time scale to come back from, okay? And that can leave clients in limbo and get stressed out about it. 2, bail. Conditional, unconditional. Unconditional, you have no conditions. You just got to return to the police station at that set time and date, okay? Conditional, again, these are conditions the officer in the investigation see fit, and they'll put that to the custody sergeant, and the custody sergeant will then put the bail conditions in place. like I said, I know it's the custody sergeant that puts them in place, but they are heavily influenced by the officer. And these, like I said, the most common ones is not to contact the victim or the witnesses directly or indirectly, if there's children, through a third party, and not to go to the address. They're the most common ones, okay? And with the bail, you'll have a specific date to come back and time. You come back, they can extend it. Again, obviously it's a hierarchy, so then they need inspector approval. They can then extend it again with the superintendent approval, and they can extend it again with magistrates, okay? Regarding the bail conditions, your representative should always liaise with the police officers to try and get conditions that are more suitable for the client, okay? And again, like I said, my tip, engage with your representation, engage with them, talk to them, stay in touch with them. Don't expect them to pull up trees last minute, because it doesn't happen, okay? It simply does not. And again, like I said, get legal representation. If you take anything from my videos, okay, it is to be represented at the police station. It's free, okay? I say I try my best to represent my client the best I can, and I am sure every other professional does as well. Take the advice if you wish, or listen to it. Again, nobody forces you to do anything you do not want to do, but have the representation, okay? I'll link in the video about the process of the arrest and what the representation or the representative can do doing disclosure with the police, but that's for the previous video. Get representation. These videos are here to just, help you understand the process a little bit more. I'm trying my best to explain it in layman's terms. I don't want to add deep legal, like I said in my previous video, statutes and stuff like that. I just want to give it you so you understand it, and I really hope this video has helped you in some way. If it has, please like, please subscribe, because I will be doing more videos. As you probably already know from my other videos, it's not just law, okay? This is law with LEA, but there's all sorts on my channel, and hopefully it doesn't get boring. Hopefully it keeps you entertained, okay? So like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.